We are in London with some activists of ACT UP who have been in Dover last Saturday, and you are talking about aggressions. What happened? For example, Dan Glass has something very visible under his eye. What happened to you?
So there were Nazi groups there and far-right fascist groups like Combat 18 who were running around Dover shouting National Front slogans, shouting Hitler was right and Hitler supporting slogans, shouting white power worldwide, who were out there for blood and were punching everyone left, right and centre. And I was very worried for different migrants there, people of colour. I mean, obviously I'm white, but they were out to get me anyway. They saw that, Jews against fascism, and found me and punched me in the face. And I was concussed for a while, so I don't really remember what happened after that.
You have been targeted as a Jew also on the web.
They're Nazis. They're outright Nazis, which is what we've got to focus on. Not for me, I'm not interested in a playground fight between fascists and anti-fascists. I'm looking at the root cause of the problem, which is this government, which is emboldening far-right groups, including Nazis, to get out on the streets and looking for people's blood. Statements from this government, like a bunch of migrants, from the media saying migrants are cockroaches, is not okay, because that's emboldening Nazi groups to come out on the streets and fight, potentially kill people. So we're not going to hide away. We're going to focus on the root cause of the problem, which is government inaction on Nazis and their xenophobic attitude in general, and continue challenging both the Nazis on the streets, but also challenge this government who are enabling Nazis to be stronger.
I think that the Nazi side of it, if you want to say, or the far right, were definitely the more ambitiously violent, and they were clearly weaponed up and quite prepared, no matter what the cost, to just go in and fight and pummel people, and that was their method. They didn't come there for any kind of vocal protest. They came there to harm people. That's the way they want to send their message. And I agree with Dan. I think that lazy media, lazy journalism, David Cameron, and a misunderstanding about maybe from the police force about how they deal with this new resurgence, or whatever it is you call it, it's helping feed them, or it's allowing them some grace time to be really physically violent and nasty.
Well, I think that it's true that the anti-fascists outnumbered the neo-Nazi groups that were there. However, there were still far more neo-Nazi groups and far more neo-Nazis at the protest than a lot of people readily anticipated. Usually with these events you have about 25 or 30 of them, or like slightly more, like but it wasn't necessarily planned to have that many neo-Nazis in Dover at that point. So that's the first thing, that there were more than were conceivably planned. So even though they were still outnumbered, they were still able to flank people, and they were still able to break out of the police preparations that did exist for them. And the other thing is that we do, as Donna said and as Dan said, need to pay attention to the root causes of what's causing this level of fascist resurgence. And we can't look beyond this government's economic policies, as well as this government's frequent use of problematic rhetoric and flat-out racist statements against the migrant camps in Calais as a direct cause for the resurgence of these far-right groups. And I suspect that is partially the point.
They stopped 3 out of 5 of our coaches getting to the protest in Dover because they attacked the coach that Donna was on and other coaches, threw bins through the windows, through chairs which they grabbed from the service station in Kent, at people. They strategically got rid of the wing mirrors of the coaches and smashed them. And this is the same coach that they wrote swastikas in blood on the side. Those coaches then had to get sent back to London because they weren't able to drive because their wing mirrors were smashed. So it was a strategic move of the Nazis to stop other groups getting there. So there was an incredible amount of ordinary people who were willing to go down to challenge the Nazis. And that's what we've got to remember in Britain. Whilst it's a very scary moment of the rise in neo-Nazis and fascism because this government is emboldening them, Britain has a great and very proud tradition of anti-fascist resistance where ordinary people say, hang on, fascism and Nazism is not okay. Last week was Holocaust Memorial Week, so and I'm Jewish, and a lot of Jewish people said we've got to remember that the Holocaust wasn't just something of the past when there's Nazis coming now. So ordinary people are coming in their numbers to challenge Nazis, and that's what we need to continue doing. So we're very lucky as our tradition of resistance against fascism, and that's something that we've got to do. You say that we're from ACT UP. ACT UP is a group which focuses on HIV and AIDS. We're here to support specifically migrants living and affected by HIV. This is one strand how we can challenge xenophobia. Anyone can challenge all the different strands of xenophobia, like whether it's coming from a women's angle, a young people's angle, a policy angle, a legal angle. We all have a part to play. So that's what we need to do in this real crisis at the moment.
Donna Riddington, what happened to your coach?
Well, it all happened pretty quickly. Actually, it was sort of. I don't recall the Nazi right-wing neo-fascist whatever coach arriving. It was a toilet stop. We went in, we came out, and they pretty much bull rushed the bus and the people who were standing outside stretching their legs. So there maybe were a dozen of us that returned to the coach I was on. We had a convoy of coaches, and after some scuffling outside the bus, I mean, it wasn't scuffling, it was pretty brutal warring by the look of it, hand-to-hand combat, people pulling out all kinds of weapons, and then the right-wing folks went and grabbed batons. They were grabbing chairs from the restaurant and breaking off their legs and using them as weapons. They grabbed bricks and they were hurling them at the windows, and so they broke all the windows in my bus. We were just on the floor as the glass came down around us. And
You were forced to squat on the floor.
we were lying on the floor. They hurt our bus driver because they smashed the window of the seat that he was occupying, sitting and waiting to start the bus again. And then as there was a pause. I think the police turned up, and so it was very fortunate. They went around, they smashed all the windows, the police turned up, we left the bus, and then the police were trying to control this incredible macho aggression.
And about Kent police, what's your opinion?
Well, the Kent police did seem to be more concerned about simply letting the protest fizzle out as opposed to meeting and confronting the full nature of the threat head on. I think this is very clear from the fact that Dan and I were a part of a group that got hit by a roving band of people that seemed to be hunting Antifa down in order to like physically intimidate them or outright just physically like do whatever to them, as they did to Daniel. What else I'll say is that as we were pulling into Dover after the confrontation at the rest stop, I noticed an obvious racial disparity in the fact that they were searching our coaches for weapons and questioning us about what happened at the rest stop. That affected me personally, and that affected also people that they were able to read that weren't even necessarily darker skinned, that simply were read as like more visibly Antifa in terms of their clothing or whatever, and searching them down for weaponry and questioning them about what happened in the rest stop and what their role in the fighting was at the rest stop. And it seemed to be perfectly clear that there was an opinion that we as activists that were going down to Dover to protest against the neo-Nazis were the bigger threat. And I think that's completely wrong. And I think that's very clear from the fact that they found weapons on the neo-Nazi coach at the rest stop, from the fact that the neo-Nazis very strategically targeted coaches at the rest stop, and the fact that the neo-Nazis were going around trying to find people in the Dover city center, and that there simply wasn't enough police in order to deal with the full nature of the threat, and there also wasn't enough police brought in from other districts in order to deal with the full nature of the threat.
After the Dover riots, what's next?
I think that what's next is that we have to learn strategically from any mistakes that we made during the day, including whether or not the coaches that went to Dover should have gone without the full numbers of the other coaches at the rest stop that got delayed, which I think was a mistake. And we also need to continue confronting these people and not be too afraid in the wrong sense, because a level of fear is necessary and we have to accept it, that we are scared of these people, but our fear should frame the fact that we want to confront them and that we want to prevent this type of violence from happening again before it seriously harms more people, before it emotionally scars more people, and before anyone else risks serious injury in the form of death.
I agree with Bilal, and I think as well as confronting the fascists, we need to challenge our Prime Minister more. We need to challenge our government and just stop this language they use. You know, we are all human beings here. Surely there is some empathy, and we can reach out to these people, and we don't need to believe David Cameron. He is not right on this.
Before someone actually gets killed, we all need to question, well, what are we going to do? Every single person, and support each other to not live in fear, because that's what the Nazis want, to say, what can we do? And say the government needs to take this seriously because someone is going to get killed. They're out there for blood. Also, recognising that migrants and refugees make Britain. They were here a long time before the Nazis were. And we should be proud and wholeheartedly supporting migrants and not Nazis. The government should be welcoming migrants and challenging Nazis, not the other way round. So let's all act well before it's too late and there's actually deaths on the street, because that's what the Nazis want.